Happy Sunday morning, Sonder family. It's so good to wake up with y'all. You've carved out this time to be intentional with your week. We're going to help guide you as you set up. My name is Jennifer Ogilvy. I'm in the Dallas, Texas area, and my co-pilot this morning is Bailey Grady. She'll be hanging out in the chat, and we are on the call today. This is a mics off, cameras off event, and you can have the volume up, down, get to work, do what you need to do. So I had a query about what song is this? It's called Almost Perfect Day, and I played it in honor of our book club folks who are reading Theo of Golden. Because before Alan Levi wrote this amazing book, he was an attorney for a few years and then he became a musician. And so that song is by Alan Levi, the author of Theo of Golden. And again, it's called Almost Perfect Day. Courtney, great question. The Bailey will drop some information in the chat for you for the book club. It is a very informal book club, mostly virtual responses, as if it's through the Fable app. And Maya, one of our facilitators, is she just is doing it out of the goodness of her heart. It's not officially a Silk and Sonder thing, but Maya's the moderator, and there's the link. You can sign up and check in with your Sonder family. And Theo of Golden is the current book right now. I know Nikki, she's got her fingers in so many things. We love Maya. But anyway, so there's your fun fact about the author Alan Levi. If you've read Theo of Golden, you know that it is such a special story. And when I started doing a deep dig into him, because I actually led my in-person, well, we're virtual, but we're local book club over Theo of Golden. And I started doing a deep dig into the author. I always love to give a little background and discovered that. And there's an organization for high schoolers called Young Life, and he did a lot of music for them as well. He's a lot of interviews. He just sounds like the most gentle man. He sounds exactly like you would want the author of Theo of Golden to be like. So, anyway. So there's your little fun fact for the day, your little bonus. It's really good to see you. It's Sunday and it's solstice. We've made it. We are here. It is officially summer. We are looking at this kind of halfway point. This is the longest day of light, and then our days will slowly start getting shorter, and hopefully in about 8 weeks, we'll start getting a little cooler. Anyway, so that's why I've got all this sunny, sunshiny stuff here because it is officially summer. Do a check-in with yourself. Which sun are you today? Um, some of you may be celebrating fathers today, so happy Father's Day. I know sometimes that can also be a tender day. Y'all know my brother passed away, so this is his boys' first Father's Day without their dad, and I've just kind of felt a little heavy this morning about that. But I guess I'm number four. I'm the sunshine number four, filled with so many feelings, gratitude, grace, forgiveness, all those things. So, yeah. So think about what sunshine you are today, and maybe that will guide you this morning as we check in. Set your Zoom to everyone. That's how we'll communicate with one another as we do set up. If there's anybody here for the first time, put that in the chat so we can give you a good welcome. First, second, third time, if you're kind of new at the social stuff, put me so we regulars can give you a big welcome. And then, of course, welcome back to those of you who show up consistently, not only for yourself, but for one another. We're so glad to see you. And additionally, you may be on the YouTube channel sitting by yourself, but know that your Sonder family is with you as you're watching the recording, and you've got that community support behind you. So go check into Sonder Club and say hi. So let's get going with our setup so we can just embrace this first full week of summertime. I wanted to share, this was posted in Sonder Club this week by one of our, you can be as many sunshines as you need to be, Ellen. One of our Sonder family members embraced the idea of summer solstice. This almost, to me, it's like a tipping point. We're halfway through the year. And so drew a circle. Mandalas seem tricky, but if you draw like one big circle and a smaller circle inside, and then just start drawing lines and shapes before you know it, you've made your own mandala. Maybe you'll go outside and make a mandala with flower petals and leaves. To celebrate the sun and this time of year. And then she had these cool stickers, summer solstice stickers, and she's got a couple of, quotes and poem there. And anyway, so she's kind of welcoming. I know summer can be, I don't really like my birthday is in the summer, but I just don't like the heat. So this might be a beautiful way to turn my mindset, be grateful for the seasons and what it means that we embrace this new season. And live with this heat and brightness, and what could that be in a positive way. So perhaps this is something that could inspire you as you sit with your journal this week. And then I wanted to remind you Wednesday, which I love. This is another great way to embrace. Wednesday is our flow mapping and affirmation sun social. And so I got my page set up there with all my sunshines to do some affirmations. So perhaps that could be another nod to this mindset of solstice and season change. So just wanted to shout that out for you. And then there are the community guidelines that we share when we are with one another. And it's all about our safe spaces that we create and taking care of ourselves and one another. So if you've been to a social, you've seen these before. You actually signed off on these when you joined Sonder Club. So we've got those reminders. And then we have been diving in to flow this month. And I did change my graphic up, but it's the same information. And it's about all the things that happen and come together, this convergence of intrinsic motivation and a deep focus and feeling challenged and using your skills equally, having some goals and some feedback, and time disappears. And when all that stuff happens, that's flow state. And so I've enjoyed this month. You may have received your July journal. It's another fun theme about really being in flow. So yeah, I think this has been we've done a lot of hard work the front end of the year with beliefs and alignment. And so now we're figuring out how to flow and how to enjoy that. I don't want to say the theme in case somebody's still waiting on their journal. This morning, we're going to do our week 3 of the mind map. And if you've been with us, the mind map is that bonus prompt that you get when you come to a weekly setup. And we are on week 3, and there's no catching up. If you've missed week 1 and 2, and this is your first thing, just work on week 3. They kind of stand alone, but you can also take a screenshot and capture the 3 questions we've had so far. Of course, it's completely up to you. We're going to do the mind map, then we'll do our rosebud thorn reflection, and then we'll do a review of those pages. I have some ideas for you. You may already know what you're going to do, and you have your cadence, and you've locked in, but you're here for that accountability piece. But we'll also have some ideas to share with one another as we go through those weekly setup pages, and then we will close out our time together. So, of course, find a blank space in your journal. Being that it's week 3, most of y'all have already done that. If you haven't, turn to a blank space. Use your poem page. You could do, I know a few people have squished it in around their turtle coloring page. Maybe you use the back page. I'm team back page. Bailey started doing that a long, long time ago and mentioned it at a social. And I was like, I'm going to go to the back page too. It just makes it easy to always find my mind map. Some of you might want to do the weekly scratch pad and go from week to week on that week. So it's really whatever you want to do. So we have done 3 weeks of a mind map. The first week was our current flow, just kind of tapped in where our flow was and where it would want to naturally go. And then last week we looked at break from the flow. If we just stop swimming against the current, what we might find. And this week is called Around the Flow. And our question is, if I were building a bridge over the rapids in my life, what support boundaries or changes would help me cross with more trust and steadiness? So I love that. And I'll go back to the slide if you need to grab a screenshot of all 3 questions. So, I've got a couple of slides that might help us think about this question as we're looking what a bridge over rapids, over hard times. Check in with yourself. Think about the things that might not be going so great in your life. Several of you have already shared that you've had a tough time, maybe a family death or some medical issues. Love this graphic. It's checking in with self. How are you feeling? And then if you're overwhelmed or anxious or insecure or helpless, there are some bridge builders there all around each one of those spaces, as well as the idea of energy givers. What brings you energy when maybe you have rapids flowing in your life and you need to get over them. Secondly, I got another slide for you. So this one really has to do with my response that I'm going to share with you. So I said, when I really stop to think about how I respond to the rapids in my life, I realize that I resort to habits that don't necessarily serve me, but they make me feel like I have control over something because that's what you want, right? I've got this. I'm in control. Even when maybe you're not, there's rapids there. And I said the biggest one is neglecting rest, revenge, bedtime. It feeds my need for control. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to schedule a daily check in it. And I had 8:30 on my answer here, but I actually went backward and did 8 o'clock. And I'll tell you why in a little bit. Go through my HALT questions, and there's that graphic for that. And that is from the world of recovery, but it serves all of us to just do that check in. Am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I tired? And if I'm thinking I'm going to try to be in control, I can turn to my distraction list so that I can focus on rest. And so my distraction list, I've shared this with y'all before. It's on my phone. It's a Google Keep. And these are just the things that I can turn to when I need a distraction, when I need to recenter, when I need a different mindset. So I keep it on my phone. It's growing as I discover more and more things that I can turn to. And so, there's just one of the things on there is halt, check in, do that hungry, angry, lonely, tired question. But some of them are, go take my hot shower, maybe sit and do a little breath work. I could grab my hand weights and just walk around the house with my hand weights. So I've just got this go-to list so I'm not left to my own devices because sometimes I'm not in control or I make poor choices, and these are the choices that will help me make better decisions. You can see an example of some weekly goals that could help get over these rapids, building a bridge. Listen to my body, do what I can, but don't push it, and be kind to myself. So I thought maybe some of these would be inspirational as we consider what building a bridge looks like in our own lives for those times of rapids. Feel free to share in the chat as you consider this week's mind map question. I'm going to put on a little bit of music and then we'll get on with the rest of our setup. Thank you for working on this reflection. And, when I was thinking about the rapids in my life, the reason I went with the revenge bedtime, which is, it really is a control thing. Like nobody can tell me what to do. And I tend to do that when I have rapids in my life and I justify it, I deserve this time and I'm in control, and it makes me feel like I'm in control of something that I'm not in control of. And then the reason that's a problem for me is then I get very tired and then I don't take good care of myself and I can't navigate those rapids. And so I have to, be intentional about going to that distraction list and really doing that check in with self. And so, yeah, that's kind of the direction I took. Y'all had some very insightful things as you consider, like it is okay to not be okay. It is okay to ask for help and expect it. It is okay to navigate something with someone, even if you don't see eye to eye. And so figuring out what that looks like. So lots of good stuff came out of this week's mind map question. Thank you for working on that. So now we're going to take a look at what the last week brought our way. Let's celebrate the roses and embrace, the thorns and find the lessons from that. We're going to be on page 44. And I always love this exercise together because I love how you show up for one another when you share in the chat. And it made me pull this quote from Adam Grant. He says, in hard times, people don't want to be told to look on the bright side. They want to know that you're on their side. And the best way to support others is not to cheer them up, it's to show up. And that's just Sonder community 100%. So, anyway, thought that was very insightful. So, let's talk about thorns. Those are the things that were challenges that we maybe feel we don't have control over, things that didn't go our way, or things that didn't help us be the best version of ourselves. And I had a couple of revenge bedtime nights this week. I stayed up too late, and I, was feeling fussy and grumpy, and so and then ultimately it only affects me, but I was trying to get some control by doing that revenge bedtime. The buds, what's coming up? What are you looking forward to? They can be very tiny things. It can be as simple as a new week, setting up these clean spaces for a new week. It could be something that could be 6 months away, but what is giving you hope and encouragement? I always say draw a box around the bud for your tough days and go back and look and remind yourself about what is to come. And for me, it's just time to start thinking about getting my little fall seedlings going. I need to start my little tomato plants in the windowsills and that kind of thing. So I love the idea of looking forward to the fall coming, especially as we are, boom, summer's here. And then what is your rose? What are you celebrating? And for me, it was just as simple as I had a pretty productive week and my to-do list shrank a little bit. And I'm a doer and I love a to-do list and I love to cross off a to-do list. So that's where I've landed this week. What are you celebrating through those roses? What are you excited about? What went well? What can you give yourself a pat on the back for? All of those things are the roses. Let's work on that. Share. Oh, a new kitten, Marcia. That's so fun. Yes, Savannah, I have two growing seasons in the Dallas, Texas area, and I actually do better in the fall. And we just put shade cloth out and we get those plants going kind of in the end of August, and then by October, beginning of November, I'll have a whole new fresh season of tomatoes and green beans and stuff. So I get two growing seasons, and I'm looking forward to the fall one. My spring one got off kilter this year because of my brother's death, and I just wasn't as, just didn't feel like gardening. So I'm looking forward to getting back into that. It's a little more of a bud than it looks like for me mentally. gracefully. Um, anyway, yeah, well, growing and one wilting. You have to be careful with your timing, Ellen. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking. Y'all work on your rosebud thorn for just a few minutes and share in the chat what comes up for you. The chat is popping. I can no longer keep up. So, I'm celebrating those roses with you. Christine mentioned she had an artist date with herself. She's reading The Artist's Way, which is so great, so great. And that's actually one of our bingo items for the month of flow in Sonder Club, the bingo game, to have an artist date with yourself. And I actually, Christine, I wanted to call that out because my intention for my mental and spiritual health this month was embracing the idea of artist date and just taking some time for myself. So thanks for bringing that up. And an artist date is really a solo date, doing whatever just fills your heart. Highly recommend. So yeah, thank y'all for sharing. Keep dropping your rosebud thorns in the chat. And those thorns, just know that when you're putting it out there, you are giving it to your community to walk side by side with you. So let's take a look at this new week on pages 46 and 47. I actually am ahead of the game and got both of my pages set up, so I thought I would share with you. So this week I want to feel like I am enough. I don't have to rely on anybody else. Instead of my weekly to-do list, I started doing a weekly connection just to make sure, that I am aware of those social connections that have been put in my life and just writing them down and celebrating them. So it's things like my yoga class and those gals, or getting to go to lunch with people, or texting and reaching out, or having phone conversations. So I'm just trying to bring awareness to that. My three goals, nutrition is cleanish eating, and I put ish because I do like to still treat myself a little bit, but I'm trying to cut out late night snacks and making one of my main meals a day a salad. And so that's kind of going back into some of the things I had in my intentions for the month. And then rest, because of that revenge bedtime, I am going to incorporate this idea that I was reading about. It's a 3-2-1. It's no food 3 hours before bed. And that's why I'm going to set my nighttime alarm at 8 o'clock, where it says like it's time to start wrapping up your day. I'm shooting for an 11 o'clock bedtime. So stop eating, no late night snacking. Number two is stop working 2 hours before bed. So be done with all the computer stuff. Don't sew anymore. Just like start your bedtime routine, and then for 1 hour, no screens. And so 3-2-1 for my rest, and then my movement goal is intentional, doing something every day. And then I said, see Mind Body Health, and I have my menu there of things that I can do. Even if it's 5 minutes, it's 5 minutes more than I might have done if left to my own devices. And then my shopping list is kind of a little bingo, and it's got, six create items, six clean items, and six garden items. So I'm finally set up, and I got to show you my pages. Sometimes I'm behind. So anyway, yeah. So we'll see how that rest thing does. And I wrote, my habit and activity intention is sleep by 11. So we'll see how that goes. I've got some creative time and reading time thrown in there, clean eating, and then of course hydration. So anyhow, so yeah, that's what I'll be doing this week. So let's go through some things. Of course, we have solstice today. So how does that impact the rest of your week? How can you embrace summertime? And then we have some fun things. And I'm going to show this slide twice. So you'll get to see this when we do page 2 again. But I thought some of these fun things could inform your goals. Maybe if you have a goal of fun this week, you embrace something like Pink Day on the 23rd and have a bomb pop treat on the 25th. Can you take your dog to work on the 26th? So just some fun things. And I love this example from another week where there's stickers and just they've embraced one fun thing of the day. And then there's also those weekly challenges, and those weekly challenges actually informed those habits and activities of mine. And so that could inspire maybe something that goes, maybe your weekly challenges will inspire your goals or your to-dos for the week. And so here's a couple of great examples from Sonder Club. And, this is that reminder that you can use these spaces as you need to. So you can see the one on the left, that upper little calendar has been covered over, and it's another space for reflection, using a sticker for how they want to feel. They're very much into this is a musician, so they're working on their harp and doing a scale check. And then their to do is just kind of divided up like a little, little spider web there. The goals and the to dos for the example on the right, the goals are directly informing the things that are on that to do list. And so if you did something like that, maybe your tasks for the week show up somewhere, maybe like on your daily spread for all of the weekly spread, for the things that have to be done. So it's really about taking what you need. I love that, Michelle. Needs to be a self-care week. There you go. Yep, yep. You got to get ready for that grandson coming over the weekend. Um, so let's start thinking about how we want to feel. And then, I want again that little graphic there is from our mind map, thinking about like when you're feeling a certain way, some of the things you could do. So there's that reminder. I love that. Be positive. And we've got a little word cloud here. And then this is a really old graphic from, I think, Gloria. She does lots of sketches. mean, from a couple of years ago. I discovered it in my bank of pictures, and she said, "This week I want to flow like the water and find moments of Zen." So I thought that was so pretty, her little water, little river. But y'all think about what you need. Check in with yourself as you define how you want to feel flowy. I love that. Marcia's embracing healthy. Didn't have a good week last week. So yeah, that's good. Check in and see what the week was like last week. And then that can help you define how you want to feel this week. Maybe present in the moment and worried free. Oh, Joanna, and that's hard to do today, but it's so much power in writing that down. Anchored in peace, feeling content, and again, peaceful. So take those now into our weekly goals. What do we want for this week? Here's some Sunday scaries, some ways to ease those if you suffer from that. Maybe some of these things can show up in your goals or your habits and activities or your to-do. Oh, your Dawn says she's reading a book called Gentle. So that's her word. I love that. And then how does gentle inform everything else that you're doing? That works really nicely with this graphic that we see about the Sunday scaries. Being gentle is planning out your week or decluttering a common area, washing your sheets, giving yourself fresh sheets. Oh, I like spiffy, Nikki. You have fun words. You come up with those good ones. All righty. So maybe you'll focus on like sticking some categories for goals and then popping things in for each one of those goals. So there's some suggested categories where you put a goal under each one. I'm also going to suggest going back and looking at your stop, start, and continue spaces on page 8 because those can very nicely inform the goals you have for the week. And you can see an example here of start, stop, and continue. And then, of course, we've just got some examples for you to see. I love like energize the one over there, and also well, both the right and the left examples have their goals. There's 3 categories, and then kind of how those things are going to happen are written there. And then there's an example of the goals are actually, it says the plan for this example on the left. And then there's like this little bingo board that has how they're going to prioritize self-care, how they're going to be present, and then how they'll have fun and find joy every day. Gosh, let's have fun, right? Let's put fun in there. And then I love the learn, leap, and let go is this example on the right. So that's kind of fun. I'll go back through all of these so that you can work on this page and see these examples again. But maybe you repurpose this and you don't really do goals. You might have a to-do list that informs what your week looks like, and you repurpose the space. Here's 2 examples of some AM and PM routines to sort of set you on track. So, basically that one goal for the week is embracing a good solid routine, which will then trickle down into everything else you do. But there's a lot of other ways you can, inform this space. And one of that bottom on this list here is an additional tracker. Make an additional tracker, like you see this right hand example of locking into routines and then holding yourself accountable with a little daily check-in. And then we have that takes us directly into our to-dos. And some of y'all were like, I didn't do anything last week. I want you to look at this graphic really quickly because there are ways to reframe that idea of you did nothing. Maybe your body needed that rest and it called out to you. You didn't even realize. And that's why things didn't happen because you took time to recharge or you gave yourself a break. You allowed yourself to slow down. You practiced some self-care. Sometimes those blank spaces will help us inform ourselves about what was going on. And so they're just as valid as completed spaces. Um, Here are ways of setting those goals into space, into the space, and then taking the to-do list directly from those goals. So 3 great examples. And we've got the Eisenhower matrix for any time you have like lots to do. How can you delegate things? And sometimes if you are solo, there are ways to delegate. You just have to kind of think about like, can Walmart do my grocery shopping for me and I'll go pick them up? Can I order this rather than spending time in the store, parking, getting in line, having to wait to pay? Is that more efficient? Can I go buy some pre-made salads so that I've delegated meal prep to someone that way? So think about some ways you can delegate if you're solo. And then delete. Sometimes, there's things on our list that can't be deleted, but maybe we look at, I do too, Bailey, the Taylor Farms pre-made salads. I love them. And they keep me right focused on better eating because it's done. The delete box can be the things that are keeping you from doing the things that are in the other three boxes. So things like scrolling, not observing bedtime and getting tired. What do you need to delete so that you can get those other things done? So the Eisenhower Matrix, great tool. And then also a to-do list of what you need to do, what you want to do, and what you hope to do can be a gentle way of looking at the things that are in your week. And then we have some repurposed ideas. I love keeping a to-do list, and I have a to-do list showing up somewhere every week. It might just be on my weekly scratch pad, but it's like all those things I did that weren't necessarily a plan. But look, I washed 3 loads of laundry, and I want to give myself credit for that. So I celebrate the things I did do. If you're looking at building that bridge over the rapids in your life and you need to feel certain ways, maybe your whole list are words of how you want to embrace getting over those rapids. So you do a to feel list or a to be list. So yeah, repurpose that list to celebrate yourself. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the habits and activity tracker too, because all of these things can kind of inform each space. But remember, when you're making habits, you want to make it the most simplest part of that habit as you can so that you can celebrate success. When they're easy and consistent, you get that flat line B where you are showing up for yourself. If it's too much, and you're not reaching what you want to do, then you're going to see that inconsistency. So, here are some just great examples of how to set this space up, how to, you can circle days you want certain things to happen. You can set a goal, but you don't have to set a goal. You can put paper over this space and use it as a reflection space. The one in the bottom left, they've got 2 items on a couple of these lines, and so they've drawn a line through that so they can do a double check-in. So like morning meds and vitamins, brushing teeth, I'm assuming that's morning and evening, eating 2 fruits and veggies. And so they've divided those circles up to do 2 check-ins there. A reminder, look at the very upper right hand side. Instead of goals, they're calling them their priorities, and they've just got 3 things there. The one below that, they're not going to track on the weekend. They're giving themselves days off. So that reminder of doing that. And then here's this idea. There were 3 goals. One of the goals, I'm talking about the left-hand side of the screen, is number 2 was to build systems. And then below that, you can see there is they're using the habit and activity tracker to build in their PM, their nighttime systems, their routines. So, tying those 2 things together. And then we've got the bottom right has chores and it says tasks with podcasts. So, sort of stacking a couple of habits, a couple of activities that they want to do. That's always a really good way to get something done, is to stack a couple of things together. And we've got this is an old June purpose when we had purpose as our theme checklist, but it's some good content. So I wanted you to see that again. Maybe you need to trust your intuition this week. Practice gratitude, stay true to yourself. So here are 12 tiny habits to change your life. So maybe again, doing those small things consistently will create hardwired habits into your life. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to put on some music. I'll go back through all these slides one more time so that you can grab a screenshot if you need to, or, save something for later. Let us know what you're doing on this page. Are you repurposing anything? Let us know what you're tracking, and what your goals are. So, yeah, let's do this page and then we'll get on with our second page. That music makes me feel so triumphant, like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. I love it. Alrighty, so while you're finishing this page up, let's go ahead and take a look at the second part of our setup, this kind of page two that we have. And this is the space that often gets very repurposed. And so I'm going to show you examples of using things just as they are, but also inviting you to think about how you can maybe, or how you use each one of these spaces. So we've got a couple of examples here. You can see that the meal plan for the example on the left is a meal plan, and they've written in what they're gonna eat. And but the one on the right is using that space as glimmers, as a reflection to look at those small moments of joy that brought a little spark to their life. And so they're going to put that there. And then Mind Body Health, the one on the right, full of stickers and inspiration to, move. They've got their little bicycle there. They've got a little weight sticker that says time for endorphins. And I love that that person on the right is focusing on what do I need to say no to? And there's a whole little grid there of all of those things they've been doing that they want to say no. It's not serving them. So mindless television, putting off a declutter, excuses for exercise. So really holding themselves accountable with this pen to paper idea about writing it down and giving power to that paper to make sure that they're being intentional. All righty, so there's that graphic again of all our fun days. Maybe that shows up somewhere in your setup this week, as well as the idea of creating some kind of a challenge for you. And like I said, those weekly challenges there informed my habit tracker, habit and activities this week, but they could also show up maybe as a bingo board in your shopping list. Here's a whole bunch of different chore lists, and you can see they are on the Mind Body Health Plan. They are on the shopping list. They are in the menu planner. So, just the example to show that any of these spaces can be used for what you need to do that. Oh, Daily Sparkles, Ellen, let us know about that book. That sounds great. So you can see, all of these are the chores that have to happen this week, but they're set up differently. A little bingo board, a list, and then again in the different spaces. And y'all look, I love the one on the upper left because Sunday is relax. So a little bit of a day off there. Here are, again, some daily affirmations. They're all on journal spaces, but they're showing up in different spaces. So perhaps it goes in your to-do list if you're keeping track of affirmations. Maybe it's your mind, body, health plan. Maybe your affirmations become the goals for the week, or you write them in the menu planner. So again, all the same idea, affirmations, but how they look differently on the different spaces in this journal. The GLAD technique is a wonderful reflection piece that you might want to incorporate. And it's when you take a look at the things that brought you gratitude, that something that you're grateful for, something that you learned, something that you accomplished, and something that delighted you. And so again, here's a couple of different spaces. We've got a meal plan repurposed for GLAD and a shopping list repurposed for GLAD. This is really good, especially if you are trying to navigate those storms and rapids in your life, is to be mindful about finding the good things in life. We've got some meal plan ideas. I put this one in last week and I've got it again. I think it was Kimberly's themed meals. And so she's got picnic at home vibe and barbecue vibes and just sort of doing a thematic. Y'all loved this last week, so I left it in. But you could also put just your main meal over there, like this person did in the Mind Body Health Plan. And then a lot of repurposing of these great juicy spaces. If you wanted to do something differently. Kimberly, I hear you. Yeah, you got to find the whimsy of life for it to happen. I've been using my meal plan in conjunction with the 30 Days of Flow June calendar from Silk and Sonder. This is still on the Facebook page, and you could scroll back to Instagram to find it. So I've just been writing each week's reflection down, and I take a moment, and I haven't necessarily journaled, but it makes me stop and think about, answering that question. So a little moment of mindfulness. Here are the 7 types of rest. I've got a couple of slides showing that. Last night, when Bailey was leading yesterday's setup, somebody said, I've got to lean into that this week. And then I've got here's another 7 types of rest and how it's shown up in the Mind Body Health Plan. Again, some more ways of making your week fun with maybe using alliteration. There's a couple of examples of that. And then just some great examples of repurposing this space to work for you this week. Maybe you need a summer song list. You start your summer playlist. Perhaps something like a little mini journal reflection could show up in one of these spaces, like the self-esteem journal. And then you see another little journal reflection, just a small little question that you answer, some easy weekday self-care ideas for that space. And then we have the shopping list. So there are some energy givers. That could be a really good way to navigate the rapids of life. You're intentional with your energy givers. A bingo board, self-care, wardrobe, lots of fun ways to repurpose that shopping space. Here's some examples of how some folks have used this space to set up for their routines that they're trying to get into place. And then I've got some extra graphics to inspire some of these spaces. So let me put on some music while you work on this, and I'll go back through all these slides again so you can grab a screenshot or use them in your journal. Let us know what you're doing, if you repurpose anything, all that good stuff. Oh, Lori, where we get in our flow state when we are when we are with Sonder family. I'm so sorry. We are at that top of the hour. Again, it goes by so quickly when we're hanging out with one another. This has been recorded. So if there was something you missed and you wanted to grab another, go watch the recording in about probably a half an hour, and you can just pause it on that screen. It does go so fast, our time together. And I swear, I looked when we were looking on page 1 and working on that, I looked at the time and thought, oh, I'm good. And here we are. Share your weekly planner in Sonder Club. We would love to see your setup, get inspired, especially if you tried something new. And I would love like you to share, like, I did this week, and then, maybe at the end of next week, go, it worked or it didn't work. Um, Bailey's dropping a lot of important links for you to take a look at. So grab those if you need the YouTube channel. Be sure to bookmark it so it's one of your go-to. There's our songs for today. I'm going to leave you with a lot of light and love for a week that just helps you find your flow. And we will see you soon, Sonder family. Thank you for hanging out with Bailey and me this morning.